Today we will answer the question, what is money? Imagine a small economy of a butcher, a baker, and a brewer. The butcher supplies meats, the baker supplies bread, and the brewer supplies beer. Ideally, they could each produce enough of their specialized commodity and trade with each other in the village so that everyone has enough of each good to be well fed and happy. Unfortunately, that could never happen. Suppose one day, the baker wants to host a party and needs a keg of beer. Would he trade an equivalent amount of bread? The brewer doesn't need hundreds of loaves of bread. Or suppose a wild animal begins to prey on the butcher's livestock, and he no longer has enough meat to trade, so he asks for double the beer and bread from the other two to compensate for the goods' limited supply. To solve this problem, they used precious minerals. A promise to provide some amount of a good in the future at the redeemer's convenience in exchange for a set amount of gems and metals. Precious minerals began to serve money's three main purposes: as a store of value, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange. At this point, the monarchy decided someone needed to regulate the money supply. This introduced the idea of a sovereign coin. The king decided that each coin should be 1 pound of silver, so they would cast minted coins ensuring purity of the precious metals, and that they were all the same weight and size, ensuring fair trade. Sovereign coins suffered debasement. The king's courts started clipping the edges of the coins to melt them down and produce more coins. In many countries, the royalty would do this to increase its money supply and pay the bills. This was the first form of inflation. As more and more people realized this was happening, original coins were hoarded and the market was flooded with these clipped coins. Carrying hundreds of coins was risky and difficult, so people ended up depositing most of their coins into banks in exchange for promissory notes. These notes were the first example of paper money. However, these bankers also contributed to currency debasement. They began issuing more promissory notes on gold coins deposited in their banks than they actually had in reserves. Nobody knew how much the banks actually had in reserves, and the bankers assumed that it was unlikely everyone would try and redeem their gold at the same time. As more and more gold and silver coins were hoarded, the currency becomes replaced with paper money. We call this a fractionally backed currency. Only a fraction of the money supply can actually be redeemed for the gold and silver coin they're supposed to be worth. Recently, currencies had become so grossly devalued that instead of using fractional currency and the gold standard, some governments simply outlawed the use of gold as a currency and introduced fiat money, money backed by nothing other than the rule of law. Today, everyone uses fiat money, but there is a global trend of countries increasing their gold holdings. Perhaps they are preparing to return to a gold standard when inflated fiat currencies eventually fail. Thank you for watching.
Created using Powtoon.